Welcome to the weekly outlook. This is for the week of the 16th of June. And as you can see, this week we have a lot of red folders. We have GBP CPI. Actually, we'll start from tomorrow, logically. So tomorrow we have retail sales USD at 4:30 p.m., which is a semi-high impact folder. And then on Wednesday we have GBP CPI, which is obviously a large folder for the pound. We also have semi-high impact at 4:30, which is unemployment claims for US dollar. Then we have high impact at 10 p.m., which is the FOMC statement. This is the actual FOMC statement at 10, and then 10:30 on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we have GBP monetary policy, bank rate, and we also have a USD bank holiday, which is obviously USD bank holiday. You know how that will work. However, obviously the day before that, we have FOMC, so we'll see how this affects the market on that day. And then on Friday, we have retail sales. So we're really expecting the bulk of the move this week to most likely happen on Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday as well. And we can maybe see a little bit of relaxed price action towards the end of the week. However, we know that we have a lot of world events going on right now, lots of wars going on in the world, obviously. So that is always going to be a big, well, especially in the Trump market, a big cause for volatile price action. And obviously that only accelerates people talking and statements being made, which obviously affects price as well. So sometimes things happen unexpectedly in weeks like this as well. So something to keep in mind. So starting off with the DXY, obviously we have targets from last week that were all hit. We started last week looking at potentially DXY buys. So I traded a buy towards here. Ended up that was actually then the high of the week. We were pretty much made that was pretty much made obvious to us on the release of FOMC on Wednesday, which is then when we said, okay, for the rest of the week we want lower targets towards objective 2. So from here we were looking at bearish price, and then towards the end of the week we traded towards lower price, and that's when we stopped trading for last week. So all objectives in the end were eventually hit. So pretty easy week last week, especially towards the end of the week for Wednesday and Thursday, which is expected due to Wednesday being CPI and Thursday being PPI. I think actually right after CPI came out, I said this is definitely what I'd be looking at for high of the week. We don't trade how we feel, we trade what we see. Definitely looking for objectives over here. And I also mentioned how CPI usually creates a good swing. CPI usually creates a good swing for PPI. And that's what happened on PPIs when we hit all of these targets higher on GU. And just prior to PPI, we hit the targets on EU, which were over here. So very, very nice days of Wednesday and Thursday last week. And prior to that, I managed to hit this short trade on the Tuesday on GU, which is what I documented in the latest Mastering the Model video. So quick recap of last week and how we are, where we are on price. So starting again now from the monthly time frame, as we obviously know just from what we've done, we've obviously just taken out previous monthly lows, and that's where we kind of left off from last week. We're kind of in the same range right now. On the weekly chart, not really anything else to add apart from same exact scenario. Weekly bearish order flow. Weekly we took out previous weekly low last week, and this current week candle has not taken out previous weekly low just as of yet. We've traded pretty far towards it, and this is where we look, and this is where we are on the current weekly candle. So as you know, the logic for every week is looking for potential low of the week and high of the week scenarios. Are we going to create a bullish weekly candle, or are we going to continue bearish and create a bearish weekly candle? So that's the start of the context. We go to firstly, we know first what's the information that we have. We know that, okay, we're in bearish order flow and we have swept out this weekly low and monthly low. This is both a weekly low and a monthly low. So if you go on the weekly, obviously you can see it's weekly lows, and if you go on the monthly, you can see it's monthly low as well. So we've and obviously daily lows as well. So it's just the exact same thing. We've swept a major area of liquidity on all of these higher time frame charts. So this is where I said why you should be careful trading a range like this straight off the bat, is because after we've taken this much liquidity, are we going to, and you don't want to take a reversal right off the bat And you also don't want to take a continuation right off the bat, because we might see after a big area of liquidity swept, we might see price trade gradually higher before continuing bearish order flow. And because of the amount of liquidity swept, we might also see price taking out liquidity and then creating an actual low and going higher. So we need to see signs of price going in either direction, either continuing bearish order flow or continuing bullish order flow. And it's a week like this where you can let price come to you, which is why we set out the Monday range. Important thing to say about that is that just because you set out the Monday range doesn't mean you have to sit on Tuesday and take a trade. Just because we say in the model you could start trading from Tuesday with intraday doesn't mean you have to. And for me, this is still a scenario because Monday didn't really do that much. It's still the same for me as I wanted Monday to do. I still want confirmation of price because Monday didn't really confirm much for me. So I still want Tuesday or the start of Tuesday, and it doesn't have to have a time limit on. Maybe it has to be Wednesday, maybe it's GBP CPI, maybe it's the federal rate meeting, what's it called, to news driver to actually confirm price for me. Sorry, I just had dinner. Maybe it's a FOMC meeting that's going to clear up price for me. Maybe it's GBP CPI. But there's no time limit and expectation on exactly when it's going to clear up for me. And I think that is like I could have just came on the Outlook and said, well, still not ready. I'm still waiting for confirmation. But I guess it's a good lesson to learn. One big mistake that I used to make, and I'm sure a lot of you guys make this mistake as well, is that, you know, you'll ask questions. And for me, I'll tell you my perspective. I used to, back in the day, have a rule that I can take 2 trades per day, right? But what this did was it would say I can take 2 trades per day. So if there was no trades in the day, I'm still like low-key got in the back of my head, I should take, because I can take 2 trades today, 2 trades should be presented. So if I didn't take any 2 trades in London, I would start to force 2 trades in New York just to have 2 trades a day, just to have that model criteria met. There is nothing there though for the 2 trades, we just want to take it. Similarly, people ask, what's the average amount of trades you take with the 5GM model? And I'll say, well, average 2 to 3. Sometimes we get 2 trades. That could be in the form of 2 intradays. It could be in the form of 1 swing with a scale in, but average 2 to 3. And then people will say, and that could be including a loss as well. Or, you know, you might have 1 loss on the Tuesday, and then you want to trade on the Wednesday, which you scaled into on the Thursday. So overall, that was 3 trades. You get what I'm saying? But there could be a week where there was 1, but just because you've heard the average is 3, you pushed 3 and then you lost 3. So because there's an average amount of trades in a model doesn't mean that it has to be every single week that you took that amount. So don't push for that. And just because on average we'll start trading the 5GM model on Tuesday doesn't mean you have to trade on Tuesday, because it could be the case that the best trade was presented on Wednesday or Thursday. So you have to hold out. And that's the point of this Monday range video right now. That because Monday didn't really clear up much for me, obviously let me just explain why. Because I'm looking right now, is price going to create a solid low from here and trade higher on price because we've taken out monthly and weekly lows? Or is price still bearish and should I still aim for even lower on price? So do I aim for previous weekly low and then continue lower on price? This is the scenario. So I don't want to take a long right off the bat. Why? Because I'm currently in bearish order flow and price continues making lows and then trades higher and makes lows and trades higher and makes lows. This is order flow, right? But I also don't want to take a short because we've taken out a range of liquidity. Where am I firstly going to target on price? Because all of these monthly lows are gone. This monthly low is gone. Realistically I can target is really these daily lows, and then I could just aim for a swing lower, right? So I don't want to do this because we've swept out a lot of liquidity, and to be fair, this could be sweep of liquidity and then we could trade bullish because that's how liquidity can work. But there's not enough for me to really create an idea on both, and that's how I feel right now. So the point is, there are going to be days where it's like, okay, I have to wait. And for you, it might be painful, but it can get to Thursday and you finally were patient this week and you take a winning trade on Thursday, and that's you made your 2%, made your 4%, passed your challenge, made a payout for the week, and you're more than happy. However, if today or tomorrow or Wednesday you trade for the sake of it, then the winning trade comes on Thursday. You're just pulling yourself out of drawdown. You've got a smaller payout. You might already have psychology problems, and this is the biggest problem that traders actually face. So we have to let things form, and a lot of the time, I love to say these things, but at the same time, I don't like the way it sounds, because sometimes people don't want it as real as it gets, and they'll say, oh, it's another day of confirmation. But then you'll forget the days like last week where Wednesday it's go time. Okay, half the week's in, let's get ready. This is where I look to trade DXY lower for the rest of the week. We take a winner, and then going into Thursday, we take a winner. And that's a past challenge. That's how I got max allocation with FTMO, because that was a perfect scenario and I waited for that. Imagine by Monday, I've already blown the account. This is what people don't realize. So waiting for the perfect opportunity will always reward you, even if it took you till Thursday to execute the trade. Just because we waited Monday range doesn't mean we have to trade Tuesday, because in a scenario like this, it's not really certain for me to do. And I'm looking at, again, now we can look at the 4 hour. This is the price action that we've had today. Obviously, this is last week, so Friday created these lows, and then price traded lower on Friday over here. This was Thursday evening. Friday traded lower, created a low of the day, and then traded higher into the daily fair value gap and the volume imbalance over here. So that's kind of where we left off on Friday, and then this was over the weekend we traded here. Monday range traded lower, but only really into here. This could be in two eyes looked at. Is this sell side liquidity, because we have low, 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 but it could also be looked at as, is this an order block or area of liquidity, because we swept out liquidity and price is traded back into the area that swept liquidity and is trading higher. So you would have looked at this fair value gap over here as well on the 4 hour and see, does price trade right through this fair value gap? From here, it could still be an opportunity for price to go lower and trade for these equal lows, but it could also be a scenario where price maybe is just consolidating for a bit. We know we've got news later on in the week, or maybe price goes through the fair value gap and starts actually creating, if you look back on the daily, this would then start creating maybe a strong low for price to go higher for these highs over here. So I need a little bit more confirmation on a week like this. I know it could be boring for some people, but that's the reality of giving real information instead of just telling everyone in the chat, yeah, because I want people to think I'm right. Everyone, I want to get people off my back. Let's just take a trade for the sake of it. If this is, one, not a signals channel, but two, it's me showing how I trade, and I'm not comfortable taking a trade right now because I need more confirmation for either a high or low of the week scenario. So I'm not going to then go and tell the people that are learning from me, yeah, just take a trade, because I don't want people to feel upset that you can't take a trade. This is not a game that's going to aid your feelings. It's a game that's actually going to make your feelings be developed over time. So for me, I still need to wait for a lot more confirmation this week. And perhaps if we trade right through this 4 hour array over here, and then we close higher tomorrow, or maybe towards the day we maybe trade something like this, create a 4 hour fair value gap bullish, then we trade higher and we close above these highs, for example, or we start showing signs of that, then obviously you have this fair value gap over here. You could see how price reacts in here. Maybe from here we trade through it again. Then we could maybe be looking at low of the week scenario, or even so, maybe we take out this high and then start trading towards lower price as well. But this is the type of scenario where you don't really want to get into a trade. Even right here, you don't want to get into a trade. Even right here, you don't want to get into a trade. So it's a little bit more waiting, and there are going to be weeks like this. It's not me saying this absolutely every week. Last week we had great opportunities. The week before that, on the Friday, we had a great opportunity. That's the day I passed the phase 1 of the FTMO, and then last week I passed the phase 2 of the FTMO. So sometimes there are certain days that are just made for you to preserve your capital, because if you don't, when the good opportunity comes, you've already done something very, very silly. Another reason why I want to wait for a bit more confirmation here, this is GU right now, very, very choppy actually. So we've taken out this high on GU, and then we haven't closed, and we traded lower and we traded lower, and we didn't go to the weekly fair value gap, but this is a short that I managed to catch. Then we traded higher on GU because of DXY trading lower, and we didn't close above again. We've traded lower again. Then on GU, again today we've traded higher, and we've not closed above again, well, slightly, and then we've wicked, and now we're starting to trade lower again. So this is weak price action. We're kind of in consolidations. People ask, how do you spot bad price action when it happens? How do you know when not to trade? These are the scenarios where you could see, okay, I need a little bit more data because yes, price is in quote unquote bullish order flow, but look at how price is reacting to taking out highs very weakly. You know, we're not closing above the high, we're wicking lower and trading lower again. So if you were to say a bullish order flow and you took longs here, you would have stopped. You would have got stopped. Then you took longs over here and maybe you wanted a swing. Well, it didn't go any higher, it came back lower again. This is a market in bullish order flow. You'll still lose the swing because with a swing you have higher targets. So you need to, let's see how price reacts, for example, in here. Does price trade through this bullish array? And then potentially you could talk about, okay, maybe this is high of the week. Now if price trades melts through here, okay, we have a weak high because we didn't close higher, we traded lower, then price has taken that high again, not closed higher, and we've traded through a bullish array. Maybe now we could start targeting lower price. So you start building a framework like this, and you can also, with the exact same framework, you're looking at how price reacts in bullish order flow to bullish arrays. Because if in bullish order flow like this, weak bullish order flow, if price goes through it, you're not really looking at this being a low of the week. You're not looking at this being a low of the week scenario because we've got bullish price, but price is traded through the bullish displacement towards lows. I'd be looking at this to be a short. So something like this could present a trade opportunity, but right now it's not presented a trade opportunity. So you need to understand that things can happen and things can make you get into a trade. So this is like a good tell of how we're going to have a week, because obviously similarly we could trade into here and then trade higher, and then obviously from there you could be looking at price taking up this high and this high, for example, maybe an intraday, if it was to present something like that. Like let's say you trade into the 4-hour fair value gap and then you confirm you trade higher. Maybe this is an intraday play. A good swing play is if we melt through this, and that could be a potential high of the week. But obviously DXY has to align for us to do that. It's a good opportunity though if it comes. And then Euro USD as well. This bullish order flow, look at how price has reacted, but after going to near the highs, we're in this 4-hour fair value gap as well. So all really eyes right now on these arrays over here on EU and GU. We'll see how that creates. If it creates a high of the week opportunity, we'll see. Or if it creates a low of the week opportunity, we'll see. But we'll really react and wait for this to be traded into, and then what happens from there.